Confessions of a Nomad. I wanted to share a painful love story with you, a really painful one. And it's a very personal story. And I thought about it for some time. I was sitting on the sofa. I'm like, well, should I be sharing this or not? But I'm like, whatever. You guys, you're part of my life. You're my family. So I'm like, I'm going to share everything and anything with you. This is deep. This is painful. And I really screwed up. But I want you to know what I did wrong and how you guys could do it right if you were in the same situation as I was back then. This story or this confession, the confession is happening now, but the story dates back to 2011, like late 2011, beginning 2012. And, I was very young. I was 22 years old, booked a one-way ticket to Malaysia, and I met this beautiful Chinese Malaysian girl at an internet cafe. It's like a biblical, it was biblical. It was great. It's exactly how I love to meet women. I love to meet women, at public places because it's just more natural. Online dating apps, you never know who you're talking to, and it was just, never really my thing, and it still isn't my thing, even though I'm using online dating apps at times. But anyway, back then, I went to the internet cafe to play Counter-Strike. You go there on a weekend, I think it was a Saturday or Sunday, and I was thrilled to get back to gaming. I always loved gaming, I always loved competition, sports and gaming, I'm in. So there was this beautiful Chinese Malaysian girl, like gorgeous, and it just happened naturally, and I wasn't even interested in her, absolutely not even thinking about it. I was so focused on the game and this, and coincidentally, not really coincidentally, but there was a food court down there. So there was like a plaza, there was a food court, and then there was a building, and that's where the internet cafe was located at the time. And there was also a guy that I met down there because I always went to eat at their store, and he also was up there, at the same time, which was, cool because we ended up playing, and, I knew him, I saw him every day because I went to his father's store to have lunch, and the boy was like, I think 16 years old back then, and that girl, she was like 19 and I was 22. And as I was playing Counter-Strike, he like kept coming to me, and he was like, that girl, she's talking about you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We're playing Counter-Strike. Let's focus on this, And he said like, well, I think you should talk to her. She's really nice. And, he told me I've known her this and this and that. I'm like, all right, we then finished, and I started talking to her, and we exchanged numbers, and she was incredibly cute, very curious. Her English was not so good, so we had definitely a problem, communicating and stuff, but it was just fun, like think about it, being 22 years old, first time in Asia, meeting really nice people. The energy is so good there. Back then it was really good energy, and that's now 13 years ago, okay? 13 years ago. It was 2011, 2012, and now we're in 2024. And then, anyway, I started dating this girl, but, it depends on what dating means to you. To me, dating means it's the process of getting to know someone. To me, dating means getting to know someone on a personal level, because that's the most important part in dating. When you really get to know someone and you develop interests, and you start to connect. And that's really the best part of that, in my personal opinion. And so with that girl, we went out, I'm never going to forget, we went to an amusement park, and I'm super scared of height, and she's not. And we went out there with another friend of hers, her and me. And we did some fun stuff there. To her it was fun. To me, we was like, holy cow, man, I'm so scared of this, but I did it because just, to fit in. And so, we started having a lot of fun, We didn't have anything like serious, but we started like dating, and it was a great time, and I went to her house, I met her mother, I think 2 or 3 times, and they were very nice people. And it was painful because it got to a point where I told myself, I gotta make a move, like you can be in this chapter, they're in the dating chapter, or I should say, in the relationship book. Like each relationship that you have is probably its own book. And within that book are multiple chapters. That's just how it is. And I'm like, well, I gotta progress to the next chapter. And then I told myself, what can I do to progress to the next chapter? She was incredibly shy. Not that shy anymore, but still shy enough to not want to talk about that. And she never had a boyfriend either. But she was like the cutest girl you've ever seen, beautiful, cute. Any like white guy would have been happy to be with her, especially considering, certain aspects that, you have to deal with when dating in other countries. I'm incredibly blessed to be with this girl, just to be hanging out with her. Back then I was incredibly blessed. I felt very happy. She put a big smile on my face, and I appreciate that. And then it came to a point where I was like, let's talk about more, how we can start this relationship. And I started approaching her, I'm never going to forget when I attempted to kiss her, and she just pushed me away. And she didn't push me away because she hated me or anything like that. No, it was because, first of all, she was a virgin, okay? And secondly, she was from a very conservative family. So I can imagine that in her mind, even knowing a guy for few weeks or a month is just not enough. She needed a lot more time, and I have nobody to blame but myself, because I should have been much more patient and I should have been much slower, because I do believe good things take time sometimes, and actually good things take time a lot of the times. And I am just not the most patient guy when it comes to women. It's just how it is. There are some guys that are better at this than I am, and this is a big minus that I have, the patience. And it isn't just about the dating, I have the patience with other things too, where I'm just not patient enough. I can give you a lot of examples, like going to the gym, or like we say, dating. There are many examples here where I'm like, God, why can't I be more patient with this? Good things result from good patience. That's been my experience, and whenever I'm impatient, oftentimes you get together with the wrong people, and that's also not good, right? So you've got to find the sweet spot. I think that's true. You've got to find, or you want to find, the sweet spot. However, I would say that I have not been patient enough with her, and then, I started pursuing the next chapter, and she was not ready for that. Then there was another thing that happened, which was that her uncle didn't want her to date a white guy, and that was something that I didn't even know about. I learned about that recently. I'm still talking to her anyway. That's a whole other story. But so her uncle did not want me to date her. Even though her mother said I'm a very nice guy and this and that, I think I'm a nice guy, and she then, didn't pursue it. She had no father figure. I think that was a problem. And her uncle, which was her mother's brother, he had a lot of power, a lot of influence over the family. And it sounded to me as if he was making a lot of the decisions, which is fair enough, and there are a lot of kids, who grew up without a father figure, and I think that must be hard. Then, we still kept talking, but I felt like there's this resentment. And back then I didn't know what it was, and I wasn't mature enough. I was 22. I was completely green behind the ears myself. Back then I had one real relationship. That's really all I had. I only ever had one girlfriend. I dated women before, but it never really led to a relationship. So before meeting her, I had just one relationship. That's it. That's all I had. And so there was such a lack of experience, such a lack of patience, and a lack of just general understanding of the whole situation, you know what I mean? Where I then told myself, this is not worth it. I'm getting nowhere here. I'm at the point where I can keep pursuing the next chapter, but to me it appears as if the next chapter doesn't exist. Since I created this illusion in my mind, I gave up. Which was a big mistake, because she was a great girl, and she was 1 in 100 probably. Fantastic girl. But yeah, that's just how it never got started. The relationship never happened. We dated and stuff, but we never had a relationship because I was too impatient. My lack of understanding of the situation in myself was another big problem. My lack of experience was a big problem. And so I missed a good chance there. And maybe this was the nicest girl that I met. met in my whole life. I really think that she is the nicest girl that I've ever met. And so you kind of, not regret it, because there's always plenty of fish left in the ocean. And it's really a matter of time to find the right person. And the right person, depends on so many factors of where you're at in life, where they are at in life. And sometimes you meet the right person at the right time and you form the right unity. And sometimes at the wrong time you meet the right person, it doesn't work. Or at the right time you meet the wrong person and it doesn't work. Or everything is wrong and it doesn't work. So it's always, dependent on so many factors, Where are you at in life? Are you even ready for a relationship? Are you open for it? And that's kind of what really shook me, because back then, and then I got into a relationship with a different woman where it happened faster, which was a mistake. And I'm telling you about my impatience here. My impatience is terrible, or it was before. Now it's better, but before, I was so impatient. I was terrible. And then she also found someone, I think a year or 2 years later, she got in a relationship with a guy, but it was the wrong guy. And anyway, we both made incorrect choices. And recently she told me about the whole reason why she didn't pursue me, why she wasn't open. And it turned out that her uncle put a lot of pressure on her. And maybe they didn't like white people, I don't know. Or maybe they didn't like foreigners. They didn't want to include a foreigner into the family, whatever it was. But she told me, back then I remember that, we had a good synergy. We did have it, but there were just a few missing pieces. And if her uncle were not in the picture, maybe I'd be married to her with 3 to 4 children right now. Who knows, right? Anything is possible.